Welcome back to the Sports Mag Zone. Time for some football talk now. At the end of round 23, heading into the international break, Manchester City's lead atop the English Premier League standings is now down to a single digit. The Citizens lead the league by 9 points following their 1-1 draw away at Southampton and Liverpool's 3-1 away win at Crystal Palace. Liverpool also have the potential to cut that lead down to 6 as they have a game in hand against the defending champions. Now, the full list of results from the round reads like this. Chelsea 2-0 over Tottenham. Burnley 0-0 at Arsenal. Crystal Palace, as we said, losing 3-1 at home to Liverpool. 1-1 between Leicester City and Brighton. Manchester City 1-1 with Southampton. Brentford beaten at home 2-1 by Wolves. Leeds beaten at home 1-0 by Newcastle. West Ham losing at Manchester United 1-0. Aston Villa winning at Everton 1-0. And Norwich 3-0 over Watford, who lost their coach in the last few hours due to a sacking. Our football correspondent Simon Evans joins us now to review the round. And let me start with that recent news. Watford sacking Claudio Ranieri. Can't say that is a surprise, is it?
It's not. Watford are a club who don't waste any time in changing managers when results aren't going for them. And they haven't been going for them. They're down in the relegation zone, and it's starting to look like a real fight down there as well that they've been drawn into. So, not a surprise. I feel sorry for Claudio Ranieri, but I think he knew what he was getting into there.
Yeah. Man City's win streak ended, I guess, surprisingly, at Southampton. And we know that no titles are won in December and January, as people were saying Man City were home and dried. Not that they aren't still overwhelming favourites, but a little bit more interest brought into the league now with the weekend's results.
Yeah, perhaps not as overwhelming favourites as we thought a couple of weeks ago when it was a 13-point lead at one stage, wasn't it? And you look at it and you think, 6 points. You know, if Liverpool win that game in hand, it's 6 points. 6 points is 2 games. 2 defeats, it can be 3 draws. And there's almost half the season still to go. So, let's all calm down. There's a big race to go still. Liverpool is still very much in the hunt. I think it is Liverpool. I don't see Chelsea getting into that conversation, really. And I still do. I agree with you. Manchester City are the favourites, but they've shown that they're human.
Yeah, after the match, and this was a bit surprising for me, when Pep Guardiola was asked about the draw, he was quick to respond talking about how Jack Grealish had one of his best games. And of course, I get the sense that he was deflecting from the fact that we dropped points. What did you make of that decision? And also, do you feel as if Manchester City should be worried having dropped points to Southampton?
No, I think after a long winning streak like that, they can accept a draw. And I think Pep just wanted to talk about something else. You're right. I think it was a bit of a deflection. And also there has been quite a lot of questioning of Jack Grealish at his time at Manchester City. But I think Guardiola's happy with him, not just for his performance at the weekend, but overall because he's taken his time to fit into a very different system of play. The way Manchester City play is different from anyone else in football, really. And it does take time for players to adjust to it. And Jack Grealish hasn't lost his technical ability. He's still a good footballer. But overall, in the big picture, I think Guardiola is right not to overreact to dropping 2 points at Southampton.
Yeah, this is a question that, Pep Guardiola would cringe at. Every time Manchester City is doing well, nobody talks about the fact that they need a striker. The moment that, they drop a point or they lose a match, that striker discussion comes up. Do you, where do you stand on that? Do you still hold your position as in, Pep Guardiola has managed without a striker for so long, won titles and whatnot? Or is it getting to the point where he'll probably just have to say, I need to bring in a player?
Look, I think he would like to have the option of a striker. I don't think he needs one. I don't think he would, even if he had a top striker. As we saw with Aguero and Gabriel Jesus, were often left on the bench and they played without a striker even when they had strikers available. And indeed, Gabriel Jesus is there and he doesn't play him as a striker. So I don't think it's a big problem for Guardiola, but I think he probably would, in an ideal world, like the option of having a centre-forward on the bench who, in a game like at Southampton away, where maybe things aren't going your way, you can mix up your style of play a little bit, ask a different question of the opposition by bringing on more of a number 9. But I think they're fine without it.
Yeah, Simon, not unfamiliar that VAR makes a lot of the headlines for the weekend matches. De Bruyne's penalty against Southampton, the issue with Jota and his penalty against Crystal Palace. There was the Kane disallowed goal against Spurs. Your take on VAR over the weekend, because that's a headline by itself, isn't it?
It is. I mean, ultimately what we're seeing now is I think the VAR system is established and is in place and is accepted and works pretty well as a system. What we're arguing about is the decisions made, the human judgments when you look at those calls. Now, the De Bruyne one here, it's the question, the VAR ruled that the challenge was outside the penalty area. I found it very hard from all the different angles we looked at to be 100% sure whether it was inside or outside the penalty area. And if that is the case, then I think the decision has to be that it's not a penalty. You have to give the benefit of the doubt to the defender there if it's not clear and obvious that it was inside the penalty area. The Harry Kane one, you know, there's a push on the back of Thiago Silva. It's not the strongest push. Maybe Thiago Silva's clever to go down, but had it been the other way around, and Thiago Silva pushed Harry Kane in the back when he was about to score, I don't think anyone would have any doubt it would be a penalty. So I think that was the right call. We're going to see it coming up here. And you see just a little push there. You don't even think he needed to do it, really. But I don't like it because it's a very light touch. And people look at it and say, well, did he really push him over? But at the end of the day, modern football, with all the cameras and VAR, if you're going to do that, you're asking for the decision to be made against you.
Yeah, and the Jota one against Crystal Palace?
The Jota one against Crystal Palace, I didn't think was a penalty. No, I think the ball's gone past the goalkeeper. There is physical contact there, but it's more Jota running into him. I don't think the goalkeeper tries to bring him down. And the ball's gone past. I don't think he's gained any advantage by that accidental contact. And the reaction at the time, there wasn't even a particularly strong appeal from Jota. And the Palace players reacted as though they didn't protest their innocence. They didn't think it was a penalty. The TV commentators at the time didn't either. So I thought that was a really soft one. Yeah.
Well, before we wrap the segment, Simon, just a few comments on a couple of the London favourites. Chelsea beating Tottenham and Arsenal being held to a draw by Burnley. Your take on those two results?
Yeah, the mighty Burnley scrapping out a draw at the Emirates and really set up a bank of defenders and did what Burnley used to do before they got themselves into the bottom of the league, which is defend in numbers and defend really tenaciously, and also just didn't have enough creativity to open them up. And again, same old discussion with discovering another element of the limits to Arsenal. The Chelsea-Spurs game, interesting one. Spurs were a little bit short-handed in their selection, so it was hard to sort of make a big sweeping generalisation. But I think, you know, it was a clear sign again, and we've seen it in the cup competitions as well recently, that Chelsea are a notch or two ahead of Tottenham. Doesn't mean Tottenham can't be in the conversation for that fourth place, which is going to be a really interesting battle with United there and Arsenal, and West Ham, of course. But you feel Tottenham are 3 or 4 players short of being good enough to really be beating teams like Chelsea.
Stay with us, Simon, because still with football, striker Mario Balotelli has sensationally earned a recall to the Italy squad for the first time since 2018. The 31-year-old Balotelli, who currently plays for Adana Demirspor in Turkey, will join up with former boss Roberto Mancini for a special training camp ahead of the World Cup qualifying playoffs against North Macedonia and then potentially Portugal or Turkey. Simon, what do you make of Balotelli's recall to Italy's squad? It's a 35-man training squad, so I'm wondering if we should read a lot into this.
No, we probably shouldn't read too much into it. You're right. It's an opportunity for Mancini to have a look at him and see what kind of shape he's in and what kind of form he's in. Have to remember, Mancini, of course, coached Balotelli earlier in his career. He was with him at Manchester City when Balotelli was there. He likes Mario and he knows how to work with him and get the best out of him. So I think any indication from Balotelli that he's in good form and Mancini is going to be sympathetic to giving him another chance. And I think it's great. I think, you know, he's a talented footballer whose career hasn't gone as well as he would have hoped and as lots of other people wanted to see. And what a wonderful story it would be, wouldn't it, if he did come into that camp, do well, continue to do well in the Turkish league, and then go to the World Cup in Qatar. That would be fantastic. But Italy are a bit short in that central striker area, so Mancini having a look at all his options.
Yeah, seeing that he gets a few goals in Turkey, but the Turkish league isn't the highest quality. So, you know, you would have to measure his performances there, against what would be expected of him internationally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not one of the top leagues. It's become a little bit of a retirement home for players in Europe as Turkey. But, Mancini has built a system with that Italy team, and he knows exactly what pieces of the jigsaw he needs to put into place. So it's not inconceivable to me that Mancini could say, right, OK, I can see a role for Balotelli, maybe as a substitute for 20 minutes if Insigne is not on fire, or we need something different up front. And I can bring him in and I can bring him on for 20 minutes. He might be able to get us that goal in the quarter-final that takes us through. When you're building squads of 23 players for a World Cup, you don't need everyone to be good enough to play for a full 90 minutes at the top level. So it's an interesting one. It really is an interesting one. I really hope the best for him because, for all these antics and all the stories there's been around Balotelli, I like the guy.
All right, Simon, we'll watch that space and see what happens with Mancini, Balotelli and Italy. Thanks for talking to us.
All right, all the best. Cheers.
Yeah, a lot more to come on the Sports Max Zone, a lot more football discussion to come as well. We'll be back after the break.